Welcome, Hoosier fans, to another victorious episode of the Assembly Call, as tonight your Indiana Hoosiers take down Tennessee Tech by a final score of 89-59 in a game that was close throughout about midway through the first half. Then IU went on a 28-2 run to close out that first half, highlighted by a stretch of play at the end that featured all four freshmen on the floor at the same time. It really blew the game open from that point forward. Came out of the locker room and played well to start the second half. Slipped into a little bit of defensive lapses, probably is the easiest way to say it, and some missed free throws in the middle part of the second half. So that was a bit sloppy, as you might suspect in a game like this, in the first game of the season, the first game after so long. But it was ultimately great to see the team back out there. There is a lot to talk about with a game like this. Trayce Jackson-Davis leads the way with 26 points and 11 rebounds, which is also probably not surprising, but in a game where IU clearly was the superior team, they asserted their dominance, like I said, during about a 10-minute stretch to close out the first half and really rode that through to the end of the game. I'm your host, Andy Bottoms, here with the coach, Brian Tonsoni, and we're going to break everything down for you. It's been a while since we've done one of these, so we've got a lot of pent-up thoughts, I'm sure, now that we've got an actual game to talk about for the first time in about 8 months. So we'll break it down for you on this edition of the Assembly Call IU Postgame Show, which officially begins our 10th season of covering IU basketball. And with that, let's start this show the way we start every show, and that is with our Hoosier Proud banner moment. And this is the part where I should have said what I just said a minute ago. So we're going to start this show with our Hoosier Proud banner moment, as we always do.
And Indiana is the national champion.
When it comes down, Indiana will be champion.
Smart takes the shot.
The Hoosiers have won the national championship.
Hey, it's the first post-game show for us too. So what are you going to do? Really, the obvious place to pick a moment here was really in that 28-2 run to close out the half. The problem is that it's hard to pick just one, and I think when you look at that run in totality, it tells you that there is great potential for this team. It started with a really nice Christian Lander drive and feed to Race Thompson for a dunk. It featured at one point 6 straight points from TJD, and he scored 10 of the 28 overall during that run. You had a really nice post move from Jerome Hunter. You had 3 jumpers from Rob Finney, including 2 3-pointers. The other was a long 2. And then you had 6 points from Trey Galloway, who finished it out with the run out in reverse to close out the scoring for the half in that 28-2 run. So I think when you really take a step back, you can find a lot of positives during that run that manifested themselves over the course of the game for IU. You saw a lot of different guys be able to get in the scoring column. You saw IU be able to score different ways. And you saw some new faces be able to contribute, and an old one in Rob Finney step up and shoot the ball the way he did. Reminded me of the beginning of that Ohio State game last year. So I think if this team is going to reach the aspirations that so many people have for it, I think that stretch is a good one to point to say there's a lot of ways this team can score. They get out and run, and we're able to score some in the half court as well. So to me, I guess it was just that entire run that we'll call the banner moment, although like I said, you could probably pick a handful of different plays within that stretch to be the banner moment. But the banner moment tonight, as always, is brought to you by our friends at Home Field Apparel, and we are excited to have Home Field aboard for now their 4th season sponsoring the Assembly Call. If you remember back when their sponsorship started, they were just little old Hoosier Proud, serving Hoosiers with Indiana-related designs. And now, as you know, if you follow their entertaining Twitter account, they have unique and historic apparel from more than 90 schools. And the college sports nationwide will be spending tons of their money at their website this Christmas. I know I placed an order over the weekend that contained mostly things for myself, although I did squeeze in a couple gifts. So you know what? You should do the same thing for them. The best part about watching Home Field grow over the last few years is that they have never forgotten their roots. They're based in Indianapolis. They hire Hoosiers to work for them, and they still have the best line of IU apparel available anywhere. So I assume you already have the famous Bison hoodie. If not, you should really stop listening to this immediately and go buy it, or you can listen to this and go buy it concurrently. They have a lot of other thoughtful IU designs as well, a ton of great football designs out there. I'm actually wearing a Hawaii sweatshirt at the moment that I bought from them. It's super comfortable. A number of T-shirts that I have picked up over the course of time, and even though I said I bought a number of things for myself, I did feel that I showed great restraint by not buying more as I had thought about. So picked up some IU stuff, but also some of the other schools they have. They do a great job of looking back at some and finding some great historical designs as you go. So whether you are shopping for the IU fan in your life or whether you have friends or family unlucky enough to cheer for other schools, Home Field has you covered with something people will be excited to open on Christmas. And right now you can save big because Home Field is in the middle of their Black Friday sale. You get 30% off of everything, your entire order, when you use the promo code BF Assembly Call. So go to Home Field Apparel, load up your shopping cart, and enter BF, that's B as in black, F as in Friday, Assembly Call at checkout to get 30% off. Again, that's at homefieldapparel.com. All right, now it's time to move the ball, find the open man, and get some opening thoughts from the rest of our team. And I'll throw it to the coach, Brian Tonsoni, first, who's here with us. And Coach, you did a hardcore breakdown of the promotional videos in Hoosier Hysteria. So I can only imagine that you were excited to have full actual games to look at.
Yeah, it's nice all day. Been watching basketball all afternoon. Got to coach a game last night. And what's nice about basketball when it starts is you get to see the changes in the team. Some things still are concerning, free throw shooting and so forth and such. But there's a lot of things to like about this Indiana team, and there's some new things that Archie's trying to do, whether it's switching a little bit more on defense, whether it's the high pick and roll. They have some dribble handoff action into a screen and roll. A lot of new things that they're trying to do, one of which is push the basketball. And yes, there was some sloppy play at times, but the pace was there. Really enjoyed seeing Race and Hunter play the 4, and I thought the rebounding effort for the most part was really good. Those are the things that I thought we needed to kind of look for at the start of the game. But a good start. You got to knock the rust off. You got to play someone other than yourself. And I thought Indiana accomplished what they needed to do. They have things on film. Now they can get ready for the Asheville Classic against Providence.
And we also have a guy who looks like what I believe Ryan Phillips used to look like before, pre-pandemic. Ryan Phillips may have joined us here, or at least a reasonable facsimile. So, joining us from an undisclosed location, we have Ryan Phillips, who just turned off his video, perhaps not wanting everyone to see exactly what he's looking like these days. Ryan, any rants on the game tonight? All right. Apparently, you are not ready to provide said rant. All right. So, Coach, let's kind of jump in a little bit here. I think we'll kind of look at this on a couple fronts here before we take our first break. So, one, let's talk TJD. He was the headliner coming into the season. I think from a numbers standpoint tonight, that was certainly true. Ended up with 26 and 11, was 10 of 16 from the floor, 6 of 11 from the free throw line, which rebounded a bit from a sluggish start there. Did see him step out and knock down about an 18-footer at one point. But what was your overall assessment of Trayce and kind of what they were attempting to do to get him the ball in different situations? It was more ball screen, pick and roll type actions that we'd been hearing about. I don't know that those were particularly effective in getting him the ball in most cases. But Coach, how would you assess Trayce's performance overall tonight?
I thought he was rusty at first. He was playing too quick in the post, and he missed a lot of shots at the rim because he was just trying to do too much. Sometimes when you have all those accolades, when we talk El Durham, too, is from a senior leadership, I thought he tried to do too much tonight, too. You got to let the game come to yourself, come to your teammates, and I thought he was just trying to do too much at a too fast a pace and didn't get his feet set. And then what you saw was at some point, I don't know if I have the time, but there was a timeout. It was 19-13, I believe. And then all of a sudden they went to their little blocker mover action where they have a screener at the free throw line and a low post screener. And they put TJD at the low post and they ran action to just spin him into the post and get him square. And he hit 2 or 3 in a row, and then Hunter got one. So there were like 4 post moves in a row. That was an adjustment that Archie made to get him calmed down and to be able to go and score. And I thought from there they did a great job. They did hit TJD on a short roll where he drove the basket and scored and got fouled. They hit him on a pick and pop, and he shot the 15-footer. So they did a variety of things to get him the ball, but I like the way Coach got him settled down by calling a play where he didn't really have to move too much. Just post up on that block and get a couple to go down to get his confidence and get back in game shape.
Yeah, one of the things I thought he did well was passing. I thought he made some nice looks out of the post. Ended up with 3 assists. They ran a set a couple times that set up him giving a high-low entry. I think one time it got knocked away. The other time in the second half it got a layup, as I recall. So it seems like they are trying to put him in some different positions. I thought he passed well, made decent decisions at that point in terms of trusting guys. But yeah, he definitely settled in a bit, started to look a bit more comfortable at the free throw line, and we can probably touch on some of those things as well. But go ahead. You look like you're ready to say something.
That high-low play is out of the side pick and roll where Hunter screens and then seals his man, and the guy a couple times, I think it was Leo, comes off and hits the high post, which is TJD. And if the help's not loaded, the one time it got tipped away, TJD didn't read the help. He kind of threw it across his body. The other time the help was too far out of the lane, and we got good baskets. So that's, again, some of that European pick-and-roll action that we've kind of heard about. We're starting to see it a little bit with TJD, putting him in different spots.
Yep. All right. Well, I think Ryan is allegedly ready to deliver his rant. So Ryan, appreciate you hopping on for the.
Can you guys hear?
For the
Can
opener?
you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Sorry, my mic wasn't working earlier. I don't do this by phone very often. Some of you will know. I hate to derail things, but some of you will remember the last game last year. I called in from New York via phone with a drink in hand, a terrible lighting and audio, and I just had to redo that for the end of quarantine. So that's where I'm at right now, folks. It's but I want to say that, while the game was great, I loved watching the freshmen. I think the 4 freshmen on the floor was a lot of fun. I hope we see more of that. TJD, unbelievable. Somebody needs to teach these guys how to shoot free throws. That's my basketball rant for the night. But what I want to say is this is the start of our 10th season of Assembly Call. I am amazed we've made it this long. And we started this journey a decade ago, Andy, Jared, and I can't believe it's that long. And obviously Coach has been following us since near the beginning. And I think Andy would agree that the best move we made as a trio was to add our 4th guy in Coach a few years ago. I just want to thank all the viewers, listeners, whether you are a radio listener and came to the podcast, whether you download it and listen to the day after, or whether you're part of the chat mob and watch us, as we do the show live on YouTube. We love you guys so much. We would not be here without you. And you're the reason we do this, because every night we want to, we talk about it in our group chats and our emails, is that we have a duty to you guys to produce a good show. Obviously, I'm sorry, no lighting, no microphone. I can't do that tonight. But, we have a responsibility to you guys because you show up for us every time. So we have to show up for you. So just being the 10th season, I wanted to hop on and thank you guys. Thank my co-hosts who are amazing. Since we started this, one of us got married, and there have been several children. There have been children born. People have moved. None of that happened to me, of course, but the rest of the people. So I just wanted to say that I love all of you guys, and this show means so much to me and the rest of us. And you guys mean so much to us. So I wanted to thank everybody and just come in here and just grind the show to a screeching halt like I often do before exiting and leaving them to pick up the pieces. So love you guys. Thank you so much.
We got you. I assumed you were coming with a page of notes on how to improve the free throw shooting. So this was
that's coming.
Moderately disappointing, but
next time I'm on, that's coming, because good Lord, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Cheers, everybody.
Definitely room to improve. All right. Thanks, Ryan. Happy Thanksgiving, my friend.
You guys too. And everybody listening, happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Well, we appreciate Ryan hopping on with us, and we'll circle back. So the other thing I want to talk about, I was kind of looking at it from two ends of the spectrum. One was the key returnee in TJD, and the other was the newcomers. And we'll certainly get into these guys a bit more. There was that stretch toward the end of the first half when the four freshmen and I think Race was in there for a little bit, but picked up a foul, and then TJD, I believe, was the fifth at that point. And Galloway, Trey Galloway is a guy we had heard a lot of positive buzz about in the offseason. And I think tonight, watching him play, you could see why. He also strikes me as a guy that Coach will really appreciate his style of play. So, Coach, I'm just going to open the floor to you. Feel free to talk about any of the freshmen, but I feel that you're probably going to gravitate in a particular direction.
Well, Trey Galloway's my kind of dude, man. I mean, just gets out there, runs the floor, sticks his nose in defensively, and just plays. But I want to share this. I wrote this about the Frosh in the first half. Geronimo gets a nice steal on a baseline out of bounds that leads to something, a basket. Leo, at 2.1 seconds, makes a read on a long pass. They're trying to get a last-second shot, knocks the ball out. Lander's closeouts, he was short, low. You could hear his feet chopping in the empty gym with his hands up, and I thought he did an okay job guarding the bounce. Not so much in the second half, but he was trying. And then Galloway on defense had a really nice deflection. Both Leo and Galloway in the second half were quick on to help when the ball screen rotation got a little messed up. So those are things that the freshmen look a little more advanced than what normal freshmen are when they enter college, because the college game is usually a lot different. But these guys seem to be a little more up to speed. Now, they're not going to, be world beaters and, go to the NBA type freshmen, but they are going to compete. They're going to push the starters to be better, but just fantastic. And you can see that they have that little vibe, in timeouts and talking to each other. Heck, there's 2 minutes and 14 seconds left in the game, and Galloway and Leo are talking about something going on. I think this group really wants to compete and win, and I know it's one game, and it's one game against Tennessee Tech, but you got to try to sense some overall perceptions, despite the sloppy ball handling and stuff. But, man, the freshmen seem to just bring some energy, and hopefully it brings some energy to the fan base too, because we've always had a couple dudes that just some games just would get under your skin, that just the way they carried themselves or the way they did things. And the mistakes made by the freshmen didn't bother me because it was next play, and I'm going to talk about next play a lot tonight because I thought that's something too that when you have a sloppy game, it's what you do next. And I think almost every player played through mistakes tonight. And that's a sign of a team that can overcome some adversity, maybe stop some of these droughts and win on the road down the road. Still a work in progress. But, yeah, the freshmen are so enjoyable to watch already, and I think that will continue.
Yeah, I think Lander coming in and knocking down a jumper, basically the first time he touched the ball within 5 seconds of coming into the game may have set a dangerous precedent for everybody. But with Galloway, he certainly was the one that stood out for me. Leo, you talked about with the play toward the end of the half. He had another nice help defense play, I think late midway or late in the second half that I thought was good. And Geronimo, I think you see the rawness of him a bit, but from an athleticism standpoint, I mean, he tried to throw one down on somebody again. One of the first times he touched the ball too. So, but with Galloway, he just seems relentless on both ends of the court. Always running the floor hard. Got almost every basket he got just by getting out and running and being aggressive. Made some nice passes to Lander that threes that he missed that I think he should be able to knock down at various points in the season. Just you can kind of, as cliche as it sounds, I know somebody sent me this on Twitter. You can kind of tell he's the son of a coach, just in terms of some of the fundamental stuff that he does, and like I said, you can see why he was getting buzz just because of the way he plays, and he strikes me as a guy that Archie is really, really going to enjoy coaching and going to be able to bring along. So I thought a really strong debut for him, not just with the shot making, but I just thought from an intensity standpoint is something that this team has struggled to find enough guys who play with that kind of edge and things like that. So look forward to watching him grow as the season goes along. But all right, well, we're gonna take a break here. We've got a lot of stuff to hit still, but we're almost 20 minutes in. Probably somewhat a function of just how long it's been since we've had a post game show to do. So when we come back on the assembly call, we're going to continue breaking down IU's 89-59 win. We'll point out the meaningful moment you might have missed and go inside the numbers to look at some stats. You're listening to the assembly call. Stick with us.
What's going on? It's Christian Wofford. What's the only thing better than an epic buzzer beater? Celebrating it with friends afterwards. Join my guys Jared, Andy, Ryan, and Coach on the assembly call after every IU game. Go Hoosiers.
All right, thank you, Christian. You're listening to the Assembly Call IU postgame show. I'm Andy Bottoms here with the coach, Brian Tonsoni, and we are breaking down Indiana's 30-point victory over Tennessee Tech in the season opener tonight, 89-59. And it's time for the meaningful moment you might have missed. And Coach, I have a feeling that when I throw this to you, probably a good place to fit in some of those next play things that you had talked about, because I think some of those will certainly be there. You know, one of the things that, and I'm going to give one that happened at the end of the game that I thought was a really good sign from Jerome Hunter. He missed inside, which I think was the only time that he missed on a post up. That's another thing I wanted to talk about with Jerome was, IU making a concerted effort to get him the ball in the post a few times and him delivering with a couple different post moves. But he missed one, and then the very next play on the floor defensively, he's diving on the floor to force a tie-up in a 32-point game with less than 6 minutes left. And I thought Jerome, in general, played well, showed some really good versatility, showed some improvement on the defensive end, ended up with 9 points. But I thought that, maybe we'll use that to segue into some of what you were talking about, but I thought that was a great example of a guy that missed a shot, wasn't even a bad shot, but really just came back down and asserted himself, tried to make a play on the other end. And I thought that was encouraging, and I think a good sign of development, maturity for Jerome to be able to do something like that. And like I said, it sounds like you've got some other similar things along similar lines that you jotted down during the game as well.
Yeah, there were a lot of them, plays where people made a mistake and got back into the flow of action. And then in the total game, I thought Al Durham really struggled tonight. I thought he was lost offensively. I thought he was lost defensively. And then he comes back and didn't hang his head. At one point in the second half, he had like 3 or 4 straight possessions where he was dominant, and that's Al. That's that next play mentality that you have to have. That the game of basketball, while you coach and play for perfection, you understand that you're not going to be perfect. It's what you do after you make a mistake. And again, this team through 1 through 10 and 11 with Childress jumping in there, you didn't really see any head hanging with mistakes. So that was something there. Point out a couple things with the no crowd. You're going to hear some play calls. So Archie's going to have to change up his play calls, because 15 short is a high ball screen with what they call a short roll. Instead of a roll all the way to the rim, a short roll to the elbow. And it got to TJD, he drove in and scored. So if you guys hear 15 short roll, there's going to be a high ball screen and a short roll to TJD or whoever the screener is. But that's some of that European stuff we kind of heard about in the summer that they were trying to do, a little more ball screen because of the perimeter type of play. We saw that tonight. The two things that the perimeters bring, pace and that ball screen action, which is trying to get an advantage, make people rotate defensively. And here's another thing that maybe someone might have missed, that Rob Finney, we all look at shots and makes and misses and offense because that's just what we're in tune to. And most Indiana fans do pay attention to defense, but Rob Finney really limited penetration. And when the game kind of got to the hyper type of play in the second half, that's when Rob was out. And you started seeing the Davidson kid and then that freshman that Hummel was talking about. They were able to start driving because we just weren't in good defensive stance. But that rarely happens when Rob's healthy. And so I think Rob's healthy, had a really good preseason as much as he could have one with COVID. But, boy, was the defensive intensity. He comes back in at the 8-minute mark. I think Archie chewed on him too, and the defense picked right back up. So, Rob has a long way for me to go offensively, especially in the pick and roll. We'll talk about that when we talk about Rob. But, boy, his defense on the ball was really good.
Yeah, I think you could definitely tell a difference, and that's ultimately the difference between your options behind Rob at point guard and really guarding the other team's primary ball handler is Lander, who, as you mentioned, I thought played okay at times defensively, but still really struggled, particularly in the second half, keeping guys out of the lane. And you don't know how much of that is just the game situation and things like that. And then Al, who I thought struggled defensively at times tonight as well. So there was a pretty big difference between those. One of the other things I want to talk about defensively from a coaching standpoint, we saw more switching on ball screens tonight. We didn't see the prolonged hedges either. And there were a couple times when the help didn't get where it needed to get. And there were a couple times I felt like the guys may have gotten a little crossed up in terms of how they were playing things and gotten out of position. But what did you notice from a coaching standpoint that they were doing differently? How effective did you think it ultimately was?
I liked our ball screen defense concepts. It's more of a flatter hedge. They went to that late last year when they were getting burned on that hard hedge. They started to go to a more of a flat hedge, and the backside rotations were quicker. I think this team's more attuned to where they need to be defensively and quicker defensively. Yes, were there mistakes? Durham got lost once. Lander got lost once. That's game one. And if it continues in game 3, 4, or 5, we got trouble. But those were only like 3 or 4 possessions. And this is a world of ball screens. So you got to get that on film, and you got to show the guys and hope that you limit those times where you don't cover well. But the hustle afterwards from everyone to fix it. What we yell with our program is when you're out of position, fix it, fix it. Emergency switch, do something, but fix it. Don't sit there and say, oh, yeah, I was out of position, hang your head and watch the guy dunk. And I really thought their fix it was really good tonight when they did mess it up. And they also switched some ball screens. And when they had Geronimo in and they had Hunter also ball screens. I like that. You got to watch the slip and the seal. You got to get under. But they're also switching exchanges. There was a time where guys were cutting and just exchanging on the weak side, and they were cutting. One of which was Al Durham jumped out. There was no screen. He just switched and knew the play. And that kind of stuff does give Indiana an advantage when they're more perimeter oriented. So the more switching is a more aggressive style that maybe can add some points for Indiana this year.
All right, so let's talk offense a little bit. We talked about some of the defensive changes that we saw, and you touched on this a minute ago. So I'm assuming you have some thoughts about how they were utilizing the pick and roll situations. Rob in particular, we definitely saw more of that from IU. So what were your takeaways from that in terms of who ran it well, who struggled, any particulars of what was more effective than others?
I like the concept, and I think that it is a good concept for Indiana, but the guards got to be better. I don't think they executed the screen and roll very well because they've got to get 2 people to guard them. And here's some of the issue, too. When you have TJD setting the screen, people are going to be staying with TJD. They're not necessarily going to be hard hedging or trapping the guard because they want to stay locked in on TJD. But you got to be able to draw 2, and Rob's a little bit slow. You saw an adjustment in the second half. He had a pull-up jumper. He attacked the lane. He has got to attack off the screen and roll. So team scouting will say, hey, we've got to hedge and get that ball stopped, or he's going to go downhill and kick. That's what Cassius Winston did, and all the teams had to hedge and stay with Winston. He was still good at finding people. But you had to stop Cassius first. If the guards don't need to be stopped, and that's where Lander's going to be good, too, when he gets up to speed. And Rob's got to be more aggressive, which he was in the second half, early in the second half. I like that adjustment. But in the first half, I don't think they ran it as well because there's no threat there if he's not coming off hard enough to draw 2 or effective drawing 2. So it's a work in progress. And you could tell, too, when it was a tight game, they went to their blocker mover stuff and got it into post, like I mentioned earlier. They changed it up to extend the lead and then went back to the pick and roll stuff they've implemented.
So one of the other things offensively that everybody was looking forward to seeing was how much IU would play small. Now, part of that tonight may have been accelerated by the fact that Joey Brunk was unavailable with a back injury. But we definitely saw Jerome Hunter spend some time in the post and play really well there. The jump hook he had in the first half thought was a really nice, confident move, something that you saw from him more in high school, and I think we've talked about that on some post-game shows or on some off-season shows, that is. Had another nice turnaround jumper in the second, I think it was in the second half, and then missed another one in the second half, but again, was a solid move. So you saw more of that. So what were your thoughts on how effective that was, finally seeing this team play small? Felt like a long time coming with playing a guy like Jerome at the 4. I didn't see anything tonight based on how he played that suggested, again, take the opponent out of it. But I thought it looked pretty comfortable for everybody involved. So thoughts on the smaller lineup that you saw tonight and what IU did to take advantage of that?
I love it, and I even include that, when Race is in, because Race can play more of a stretch 4 if he can shoot a little bit, but especially with Jerome in there, because you can post him up. They ran him on a pick and pop. He hit a 3. That's going to be a tough cover. And one of the suggestions that I would have would be maybe at times to put TJD on the baseline and put, when Jerome's in the game, and run Jerome as a high screen and roller more. They did it a couple times because he can pick and pop for the 3 as a threat, which means you got to stretch the floor, and then that gives TJD room to duck in and post up. We didn't see that a lot, and that might have been by design too. You're playing Tennessee Tech, you're going to win, you're going to run some base activity. You probably have a lot of this. If you're running ball screen motion, you know all the different coverages, all the different things that are going to happen, and you know where you're going to put your personnel. So Archie might not have used everything that is in his arsenal in game 1. I would be surprised if he did much. But when you play Providence, who's a solid defensive team, you might see some of those adjustments of where the people are located in that type of offense.
All right, so let's go inside the numbers now and talk through some of the statistical components of this. We'll take the good ones first because there's a couple others that we probably need to talk about. Turnovers. This was a big story for both teams. IU only with 8 for the game, 4 in each half. That led to just 9 Tennessee Tech points. On the other end, though, Tennessee Tech had 20 turnovers for the game. A ton of those, I think 9 came during that 28-2 run toward the end of the half. Overall, those 20 turnovers led to 31 points for IU. I thought that was really key and helped them break the game open. Points in the paint, 58-28 in IU's favor. And assists. IU ended up with 22 assists on 32 made field goals. If you told me that you get a 22-8 assist to turnover ratio every night, you'd probably feel pretty good about IU's chances to win the game. So to go back to the defense, I just thought, in addition to some of the tactical things that you mentioned earlier, I just felt like during the stretches that mattered, I guess I'll say in the game, really just felt like there was a good level of intensity, and they did a good job of making Tennessee Tech uncomfortable and exerting the advantage that they actually had over the situation. I don't know how many times we've talked over the years of when this team has struggled defensively, they just let the other team get super comfortable, do whatever they want. And I thought during those stretches, they really did a good job of contesting just about everything. They made some mistakes and gave us some open shots, and a little bit of it was luck that they missed some of those open shots. But I thought by and large, during the key stretches, the intensity and the focus was really good on the defensive end.
Yeah, and intensity is the word that I would agree with you the most because, things aren't going to be perfect, but it's the dives on the floor. It's the hustle out with the high closeout and playing the drive when it wasn't your man to close out to, but you're covering for a teammate. The number of times where there were just wide open shots were limited, and in game 1, that's pretty good. You're probably going to have a lot more of those in game 1 as you start getting into game shape and figuring that out. But yes, intensity on defense was tremendous. You saw that around the pick and roll defense too, where the guards were really guarding well and getting over when they had to get over and getting under. There was a lot of communication. The interesting thing, again, without fans, is you kind of hear some communication that's out there. And I'll tell you, every coach thinks their teams can communicate better, and I'm sure Archie will talk about that. But the overall feel for me was, yes, this was a better defensive effort. And even in that stretch in the second half where it got kind of a little YMCA-ish, it wasn't one of those, just let them go to the rim type deals like Jared always says. You know, they contested, they did an up and under, and then they threw a shot in over somebody. Or they went in and there was a contested two. And, again, I think that's a goal of any defense is in this day and age, the athletes are so good with the basketball, you're going to get downhill. Your defense is going to give up some downhill plays. But it's what you do when they get in the lane. And you heard the coaches yell, wall up and be big so people have to shoot over you. And I thought for the most part they did. And, you know, they hit 2 outstandingly crazy deep threes. They scored a 3 with 7 seconds left. You know, after one of the 8 turnovers was stepping on the line with 7 seconds to go in the game by Geronimo. So as sloppy as it seemed to all of us because the ball was bouncing around and we missed some opportunities passing because we just weren't in sync early on, this, you know, 7 turnovers in the main part of the game, that helps too because you get your defense set. You're not giving up home runs. Now that'll change when the defensive pressure of a great defensive team like Providence. I don't think they're a great team, but they really make their mark on defense. You got to be a little bit better, you know, so you can not turn the ball over. But I thought defensively, what you said, intensity was there. And I thought that showed in the shooting percentage and the turnovers.
I think the other thing that stands out on the positive side is just balance. The first 8 guys that came into the game in the first half all had scored not long after they came in. So you ended up with, I think, 9 different guys scored overall. Anthony Leal, the only scholarship player who was in there and did not score. But you know, you had that. You had, I think, 8 guys have at least 2 assists. Which is fairly impressive. A number of guys chipping in with blocks and steals. Rebounding wise, you had Al chipped in with 6. Finney had 5. So guard rebounding has been a topic of conversation. It becomes even more important if you do intend to play small a bit there. So I think good balance, which is what you want to see in a game like this. You know, nobody played more than 30 minutes. You had a bunch of guys play between 19 and 30, and I think that's a positive thing. You got a lot of the freshmen some playing time, get their feet wet first time out there. I think that's nothing but positive. On the negative side, you know, you got to talk about the shooting. The free throw shooting is one for sure. 10 of 22 for the game. Trayce was 6 of 11, although I think he picked it up after missing some early. Geronimo missed both of his. Race was 1 for 4. Al missed both of his. And then the three-point shooting ended the game 5 of 19, 2 of 10 in the second half, so just 26% from there. There weren't too many threes that I felt weren't good looks. So if you want to be concerned about this team not getting better from a shooting perspective, they didn't do very much to appease those fears. So let's kind of break those down separately. Coach, from a free throw perspective, and I know we were all texting a little bit about this, particularly with TJD, just not really bending his knees a lot, following through, which I think were habits that he fell into at times last year when he got tired or as the season went on, because he shot it really well from the free throw line early, and I felt like it got worse as the season went on. So any thoughts on the free throw shooting, one game aberration, any underlying things that you saw that kind of with multiple guys?
No, and I always speak as a coach. You know, everything that is done under your leadership is your responsibility. But if you're a college athlete, step up and hit 60, 70% of your shots at worst. Just do it. Make the shots. You're unguarded. You're a scholarship player. And if you're not good at it, you got a key fob. Come in, call a manager, and shoot 7,000 of them until you get the technique down. Now, there's some game slippage. The first game, conditioning has always been a concern. We've talked about it with our high school program. Without Summer and without some of the conditioning, and yes, they have Cliff Marshall and all of that, but the basketball game shape is always different, even than practice. And then it depends on who's getting to the foul line. If you're 75% foul shooter shooting 14 shots, your percentage is going to be better. You talked about 3 post players, and post players typically shoot lesser free throws. Now, that's still no excuse. I feel that way about open shots, too. I'll get you open shots. I will screen. I'll call a scheme. I will get you open shots. It is your job to knock down open shots. We can do all the chair drills. We can do all the shooting form. We can do the elbow in. We can do 1,000 shots on a gun. But the bottom line is have some onions and hit shots.
Yeah, that's ultimately the free throw stuff was not good by any stretch. But I actually feel in some ways almost more concerned by if I'm going to pick one to be more concerned about, I actually felt more concerned about some of the outside shooting because they were clean looks, multiple clean looks that guys were getting. And Rob was the only guy who hit more than 1 3 in the game. He was 2 out of 3. You had Allett 1 for 5, Lander 1 for 4. Leal and Galloway both 0 for 2. So yeah, the freshmen didn't necessarily shoot it well. So that was part of it. Armand missed one, but that was what I went back to. The quality of the 3-point shots that they took and missed were good quality looks that you'd want to get. You'd chalk it up as a successful offensive possession if, to your point, you schemed in a way that allowed you to get the shots that they ended up with and they missed them. So I don't want to overreact to one game. The problem is that the one game is on the heels of multiple seasons where the team hasn't shot the ball well. So in some ways, you're not really reacting to the one game. So I'm not sounding the alarm bells by any means, but I think that was what was most concerning to me. Was it wasn't forces with a guy in your face very often that those misses were a result of.
Yeah, we had here's an example. We have a young man on our program, plays in our junior varsity, and he's a knockdown 3. We let him shoot anytime he wants. He can shoot the 3. In practice, he's 9 of 10 every time we shoot free throws. 9 of 10, 9 of 10, 9 of 10. In his first game the other day against Kokomo, he was 1 of 5 from the free throw line. I mean, it's just sometimes it's a mental block. Sometimes you're tired. Sometimes, but the bottom line is step up and make shots. If you practice being tired. Run, 10 down and backs and then go to the free throw line and then run 10 more and go. I mean, there's ways you can do it. This idea that the coach has to fix shooting, then you don't even have a scheme to run because you're spending so much time on shooting, you can't even get a guy open. You're college kids. We're paying for your scholarship. Get in there, get on the gun, and make some shots. Simple.
There you go.
Maybe not so simple.
Maybe not.
If it
maybe
was
not simple, but it feels.
If it was, we're going to be talking about it.
It feels simple.
It should be simple. You're in college.
Well, and we'll see. I think it'll be. We talked about this a little bit. Now they're used to shooting at Assembly Hall, so it's a bit different. But I do think some of these shooting backgrounds, and even just having watched games today, just a general atmosphere where everybody's got their bleachers pushed back against the side, and some of the optics of what it looks like. I'm not blaming that for the missed shots by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think people are going to have to get used to what some of these shooting backgrounds look like without people and different things like that. But we'll see. We'll have 3 games in Asheville to maybe get a bigger sample size that we can make some judgments on. Coach, any other stats you wanted to hit before we close up the stat shop here?
No, the one was the assist. I wanted to go back and talk about that a little bit. If we knock down some shots, that assist number goes up. There was some inside out against the zone. Trey Galloway did a nice job of finding people and then missing shots. So we had a good assist to turnover ratio, and you're spot on. That is good for a basketball program to have those kind of numbers. They would have been even better if we just hit open shots, not even talking about contested shots. So the idea behind all that, though, and we're joking about this shot, not really, we're seriously concerned, but it's a good thing to have a team that shares the basketball. It's not a selfish team. That will take you into tough games and help you get a key basket or 2 in crunch time when you don't care who shoots it, you don't care who gets the credit. And I get that feeling that this team is a lot more together than we've seen in Archie's first 3 years. And a 22-8 assist turnover ratio is a good way to start. And I can't guarantee that'll be there every game. But it just shows what I think are some underlying features, and maybe I'm just hoping too much as a fan, and that could very well be. But you do look at those things as a coach. how the ball's popping, how the ball's moving, and I thought it did. And now that we just got to get the points out of it.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I mean, Galloway, I felt like he could have had 3 assists after being in the game for just a few minutes if people had made shots. And you're not going to make every shot, but I do think the unselfishness and the option to say, hey, I can force a tough shot where I have it, or I can look for somebody else. I thought the same thing with TJD doing that. He wasn't really trying to force things. I think sometimes during the season you're going to need him to maybe force the action a little bit, but he was looking for other guys and made nice passes. So if you want to take a positive away and think that it's first game rust and all those kinds of things, and the shooting will get better, then I think there's a lot of positives to take away from the way this team shared the basketball through one game.
The bench was 10 assists to two turnovers, and one of the bench turnovers was a step in at the 7-second mark left of the game. You had a freshman in Leo who only played 11 minutes, had 3 assists. Lander had 2, and neither of those had a turnover. Galloway 2 assists and no turnovers. As freshmen coming off the bench, trying to impress the coach. No, they just came in and play ball. And playing ball is next, one more, and they've played together, and that stuff rubs off, and I hope it rubs off enough to get a lot of wins.
Yes, I hope so as well. All right, well, coming up on the assembly call, we're going to hand out our first game ball of the season and hit any other lingering storylines that we didn't get to, and then we'll look ahead to IU's next opponent, and then it'll be time for last call. So that's all next here on the assembly call. Stick with us.
This is Jordan Halls, and I never miss a shot or an episode of the Assembly Call.
Thank you, Jordan. Jordan was also tweeting out some of his accolade or his appreciation of Trey Galloway's first game as well. So fitting to have Jordan do the intro. You're listening to the Assembly Call IU postgame show. Catch us live immediately following every IU basketball game, plus every Thursday night at our website, assemblycall.com. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for our free IU Hoops email newsletter. Over 7,000 of your fellow IU fans have already subscribed. You can text IU to 66866 to subscribe. Again, that's IU to 66866. I'm Andy Bottoms here with Coach Brian Tonsoni, and we are breaking down Indiana's 89-59 victory over Tennessee Tech to open the season. And now it's time for game balls. So, Coach, hopefully we go in the same direction, or we may have to go to the chat mob to break the tie here in game one, since there's only 2 of us. But who gets your game ball tonight? I feel like there's 2, maybe 3 legitimate options.
Yeah, there's really only one. We all know that, but we might need to come up with a secondary award. I'm gonna petition Jared to have the Coach Mike Roberts award or something about that for just all-out toughness and hustle, because I think Trayce Jackson-Davis is going to get a heck of a lot of game balls. He struggled in the first 6 minutes to find his shot, and his free throw shooting wasn't really good, but 26 points and 11 rebounds, 3 assists on the night, just an all-around great effort, which we're kind of used to. And again, applause to him for battling through some adversity early and finding his game and being the dominant person that he could. Early on, if he didn't get over 50% free throw, I was just going to boycott that for free throw shooting just to motivate him. Like, he never listens to the show anyway. But I got to go with Trayce Jackson-Davis because he helps make other people better too, because of the attention that he draws, and he still gets 26 and 11. Galloway probably would be the other guy that I would have gone to.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. I think we've fallen into these things even at times last year where it was, Trayce shows up, plays really well, and you take it for granted a little bit and are almost looking for a reason to give it to somebody else because you've given it to him so many times. So he did lose the gold jersey in practice this week to Race. So, but yeah, I think it has to be TJD. Although Galloway certainly made it more of a discussion than maybe it should have been for a guy with 26 and 11. And I thought Finney played, seeing him shoot the ball that well was good. I think to the points you made earlier, he's got some work to do from a ball handler in the pick and roll situation, but great to see him out there looking healthy and shooting the ball well. Yep. But yeah, I think it's got to be TJD.
And kudos to Hunter. Jerome, 9 points, 4 of 6, shooting, 3 assists, no turnovers, 2 steals. That's hard to overlook too as a solid contribution. And the fact that he come in and accepting that new role, I think he enjoys it. The inside out nature of the 4. So Jerome Hunter could have been in consideration as well.
Yeah, I thought he played really well. Along with Galloway, he was, those were the first 2 guys off the bench, and they provided a pretty big lift. So let's talk about a couple of the starters that we really haven't hit on too much lately. One of them, or too much so far. One of them is Armaan Franklin. He ends up with 8 points, 3 of 4 from the field, 2 of 2 on free throws. So that was a positive. 2 rebounds, a couple assists, and a steal in 22 minutes. I thought a fairly uneven game from him. He had a couple drives in the second half to get the points where they were. But we'd heard a lot of positive things about him in the offseason as well. I think he was a guy that Archie had singled out, I believe on his radio show this week as somebody who had taken some steps. And I thought it was a fine game for Armaan. Got the chance to start. I don't know, you don't really know what that lineup might have looked like had Joey Brunk been available. But I'm not sure he would have impacted the guard rotation at least. So thoughts on Armaan from you tonight?
I think Armaan and Els really struggled in the first half to find their way offensively. I thought what they did do well is push the pace. If there was a positive for those two, it was, they were pushing the pace. The thing I like about Armaan is I like the way he guards. I think he gets down in a good stance. I think he gets after it. I think he hustles on defense, and I don't think that his struggles offensively really hurt him defensively. If I went back and watched it, maybe I'd find a spot or two where he missed an assignment or let a guy drive him. But, I think he might be the second best on-ball defender we have right now when Rob goes out, and we need to watch that from here on out, how successful he is on the ball. But I think he's a toughness guy. And I think that, he's just got some of the things that were inconsistent from him last year was he just played too fast. And you want to play with pace, but you want to be quick and not hurry. That's a Coach Wooden thing from UCLA. I think sometimes he just gets too sped up and the ball slips out or he misses an opportunity and then the offense has to reset. But I think he consistently brings it on defense.
And then I wanted to circle back to Christian Lander just a little bit. I found myself during the game, and they brought it up on the broadcast, and everyone will probably bring it up on every broadcast, is kind of reminding yourself that this kid should be in high school right now. And comes in, makes his first shot, banked in a 3 toward the end of the game, got hit on the follow through a little bit. They mentioned he was holding his wrist, seemed okay, stayed in the game after that. Missed a couple other threes, and I know in our text group there was some discussion about just shooting form and getting his feet squared up, and I think that's things that Ryan talked about even when he was doing scouting reports and things like that. So the track record of reclassified point guards who step in and really play well right away is virtually non-existent. So I think it was a good chance for him to get his feet wet. I think he's going to grow probably as much as anybody between the beginning of the season and the end. But I felt like tonight there were certainly moments when you could see the adjustment, even against a lower level team for him. But that, drive and dish to race for the dunk is the kind of thing that he can do as a playmaker that you really look at. So I find it hard to be, kind of swing the pendulum too far one way or the other on him based on a performance like tonight and just his first game as a freshman in that scenario. But didn't know if you had any other thoughts on Christian after watching him play his first game as a Hoosier.
Well, he has the luxury of playing behind Rob right now and easing into his role. But just watching him tonight, you can tell he has a sense about him that's a very special basketball player. What he needs to learn and understand is the speed of the game at the collegiate level and the physicality of the game, especially defensively. He missed a couple rotations defensively. He was out of position there. The pack line is something that, when you're a star in high school, you guard the worst guy so you don't get in foul trouble, and then you go score 50. It's a whole nother ball of – in AAU, there is no defense. It's just go play. So now he's learning team defense. That's probably the toughest thing, and Archie's a big defensive guy, but you can play behind Rob and come in and get your minutes. But when you watch him offensively, there's just a smoothness to his game, he got
That's
that
exactly
coming
the
off
word that I was thinking when you said that.
He's
Yeah.
smooth, and that curl off the inbound pass, and he just went up, and it's just smooth. And that ball, you can tell good shooters by how soft the shot is. Now, his 3-point shot was off because if you watch tape on him, in the lane, he's an elevating shooter. So that elbow jumper, he was up in the air and it was smooth. His 3-point shots are more of a set shot where he just gets a little bit of lift, and he was too fast in his setup, and then he clanked it. And his shot wasn't soft. So he's got to find how to get his feet set up in the collegiate level to the point where his shot will go in. Once he learns how to prepare his shot at this speed, he'll start knocking down those threes. And it might take 5 or 6, 7 games. But again, he's behind a veteran, and that gives Indiana a little bit of time. If they were dependent on him to come in and be a 25-minute stud, there would be some ups and downs. And maybe this will benefit him in the long run come March, that his growth will be so big and so advanced but his natural skill set is special. He's going to be special.
Yeah, I agree with you. You just tell by the way he moved in the half court and being able to do some of the things, even in the open court, being able to hit guys when they would get out and run. I think that it goes right along with what you said, that he doesn't have the pressure of having to come in and start right away. And I think when I circle back to that track record of other guys who have reclassified and come in to play point guard, that has typically been because somebody had a hole in a class somewhere and they didn't get the point guard they wanted, they didn't get somebody, and they found an option to get somebody who they thought was really good to come in and play and have that pressure right away. So I think that's a really important point that you made, that he will have the luxury, if you want to call it that, to ease his way in a little bit. But you're also going to see, some real highlight plays from him as he starts to figure it out, and you'll see more and more of those. And I think, like I said, there's probably not anybody that's going to grow more between the beginning of the season and the end than him, just based on his natural ability and kind of the ceiling of what he can do.
And boy, when he does have it figured out and Archie can play both of the point guards at one time, now you're going to see the pace really pick up, because you can pitch ahead to a point guard who can come off a screen and roll on the wing in transition, or can push in transition. You have Galloway running quickly. You got the other point guard running quickly. There's a lot of things you can do once he does get up to speed to maybe get more than 16 to 18 minutes.
Yep. Other guy I wanted to hit on briefly was Race. He got the start tonight. Again, don't know whether he would have started had Joey Brunk been healthy or not, but he did get the gold jersey in practice this week. He ends up with 5 points, 3 rebounds. Got himself in a little bit of foul trouble. Ended up with 3 fouls. I think picked up all 3 in the first half. Did have a block and a couple steals. And I think a guy who you're not looking at to come, no matter the opponent, to come out and score a bunch of points and one of those kinds of things. He's a complimentary player and has played that role well, and I think we're looking forward to him being able to get expanded minutes this year. But Coach, anything with Race that you noted during the game?
Yeah, well, it's just what we like about Race. And you said intensity earlier on defense. He's really playing hard defensively. And then his rebounding will be a key too. Offensively, he's just got to slow down. He had a couple plays in there where he got crowded and he threw something up. And he'll learn that in the low post. I'm anxious to see him on a pick and pop a little bit, or be able to stretch the floor and shoot the 3 as needed when teams start sagging off against TJD when we run some post action for him. But I thought Race was what we thought he was, and I think he's going to bring that all year. And I mentioned on the Assembly Call Twitter feed to look and see who plays the 4. Well, you had Thompson and Hunter for the most part, and Geronimo played a little bit of the 4. Well, you combine their points, and that's 16 points, 3, 5, 7 rebounds, 6 rebounds. If you could get 16 points from the 4 spot every day with the guards, I think Indiana's got a chance to put some solid offensive production out. And some days it might be more Race, some days it might be more Hunter, depending on the matchup. And I think that gives some flexibility.
All right, well, just to take a quick look at what is ahead, we do not have a show on Thursday night due to Thanksgiving, and so we certainly hope that everybody out there is able to enjoy some time with family and stay safe out there for Thanksgiving, and definitely wish you all a happy Thanksgiving from us. So the next game is the first game of the Maui/Asheville Invitational, Monday, Monday the 30th versus Providence at 2:30 on ESPN2. Providence today, they had their opener. They won 97-56 over Fairfield. I did watch a little bit of this. They really blitzed them coming out in the second half and opened up a pretty big lead. They were up by a dozen, I think, at halftime, but really took control early in the second half. I got a really strong performance out of Nate Watson, who will be an interesting matchup for TJD, senior big man. He ended up with 23 today. They typically, the guys who I think you probably counted on a little bit more for them, are more perimeter oriented coming into the season, but Watson did well. They're a team that has typically been strong defensively. So as you look at those turnover numbers and things like that, that's probably the biggest piece to look at going into that game, and then we'll see who IU plays based on how they fare in that particular game. So should be a good matchup against Providence. If I look at Ken Palm right now, it favors IU by 3 with a 59% chance of victory, 72 to 69 as you look at that. So again, not a ton of data in there at this point, but that's what's next up for the Hoosiers. So we'll have we won't have a show on Thursday night, but we will have plenty of shows next week because we got post-game shows to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Assembly Call Radio on Thursday. Although I guess I say that without knowing for sure whether Maui is playing on 3 consecutive days. So somebody more informed than me will confirm that once we get closer. Then, all right. So with that, we're gonna hit last call here. Before we do, just want to remind everybody to check out Home Field Apparel's Black Friday sale. Again, you can use the promo code BF Assembly Call at checkout to get 30% off your entire order at homefieldapparel.com. So last call, we're gonna go around the horn, which is a pretty short one. So, Coach, any lingering thoughts? What's your last call for this 30-point IU victory to open the season?
You know, it was a little sloppy at times, and I don't think there's anything that can make us be calm and say we're going to win a majority of the games and make the NCAA tournament yet. You got to have a bigger sample. But I think there also was some things that are real positives, and the freshman class is one, and the overall vibe of the team. You know, there's been some of us that have bought in that once Archie gets all his guys, it's going to be a little bit better. Well, I think these are 11 guys that you're really going to enjoy, you know, even when they make mistakes. You know, I didn't think Al Durham played a great game tonight, but I just simply love watching him play, and he bounced back in the second half. I think you're going to have 11 guys that when they play bad for one stretch, they're going to try to fix it in the next because they care about the name in front of their jersey instead of the name on the back. And I really appreciate that as an alum. I appreciate that as a coach. Yes, I want to win every game. I'll be disappointed with the free throw shooting and the three-point shooting. But the vibe that I get watching these guys, I'm enjoying it already. And I hope that continues. And I know that the coaching staff and everyone's going to fix the errors that they had tonight and then build on the successes. But I think this is a team we're going to enjoy watching for most of the year and the games that we get in, because it just was there was a lot to like in between some of the ugly tonight.
Yeah, I kind of landed at a similar place as you. I think, and anybody following IU Twitter tonight probably saw it. You could – if you believe that this team is going to be significantly better than last year's team, I think you saw enough to believe that. If you want to believe that this team has the same limitations as last year's team, then you probably saw some things that back that up too if you want to. So I think if the 8-month layoff between 8+ month layoff between games has done anything, it's probably made me want to be more positive about any of this stuff. So I'm gonna come down on more on the side that you did, in that I just think it's going to be a fun team to watch. I think there's a lot of guys who really played with some intensity and played in a way that everybody is going to be able to rally behind them. And again, that is not going to mean in a tough Big Ten that you're going to win every game. It doesn't mean they're going to go out and win the Maui Invitational. But I do think this is a team that has a lot of room for growth because there's so many young guys, and you saw a good foundation of what they can do tonight in spurts. And if the stretches of positive play become a little bit longer, and the stretches of negative play and the droughts get a little bit shorter as they mature, and these guys get even more used to playing together, and the rust shakes off, then I think there's a lot to be excited about. And certainly, given everything going on, I want to choose to be excited and do that. And I guess in closing, would say we're really excited to be back for the 10th season. I know Ryan mentioned that at the beginning. I think we've all probably learned a lot about what role sports play in our lives over the past 8-9 months. Sometimes probably thinking maybe it plays too much, and sometimes saying, man, I really missed this. And it was fun to dust off, templates for tracking stats and trying to remember how to, do a post-game show and all that kind of stuff. But it was ultimately just fun watching the team out there. It is weird to watch without fans at Assembly Hall. It is weird to just, see the way the benches are pushed back and guys are spread out and coaches wearing masks. There's a lot of things that are not normal about it, but for a little while it felt normal, at least watching IU basketball game, be able to hop on here and chat with you and share that with everybody. So we are very thankful for that, and for whatever games we are able to get this season, we'll be here after every one of them, and looking forward to talking about it, looking forward to watching this team grow, and hopefully have some success as we move forward through the season. So with that, I will wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving from all of us. Again, stay safe, enjoy time with family, and we will be back soon as I can get things up here to see again. Just working the kinks out here. All right, there we go. Now we got it. So that'll do it for us on the Assembly Call IU postgame show. If you want to see us do the show live and be part of the live chat, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/assemblycall. And don't forget to go to assemblycall.com or text IU to 66866 to join our free email newsletter. Special thanks to longtime listener Bob Thompson, who produced much of the music you hear on the show. And thank you for listening. We'll be back to talk IU hoops again with you on Monday after the Providence game. Until then,
take it from me, Juwan Morgan. Keep your elbows in, eyes on the rim, and go Hoosiers.
Thank everybody for coming out.
All right, I got to get out of here, folks. Thank you.
All right.
Good job, Andy.
Show 1 is in the books. Only a few minor hiccups, so not too bad after that long, right? I'd gotten myself into a good groove of not screwing up the radio show, and then you get the post game. It's a different ball game. But
I almost forgot there's no intermission talk there.
I know.
And I had to remind myself, oh, shut up. Don't.
I had to. Well, I was doing the same thing because I was like, I almost said something because I was like, well, we need to pause so that we can have the radio piece go. But anyway, so all right. Well, I think that's it. I don't know if there's any other lingering thoughts from you that we didn't get to on the show. We did about an hour, so we're in somewhat mid-season form already.
No, it's I just again I may be too positive in that, but you got I liked what I saw overall. I don't like the missed shots. I don't like the missed free throws, the sloppiness early on, but. No, it's it's a good first game. I mean, I don't know. We'll see next Monday or Tuesday, whenever that game is.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
I get my days all messed up now.
Well, yeah, this is not the time to try to figure out what day it is or anything like that for sure. But yeah, we'll see. Did you watch any of the Providence game today?
I did, but I had 4 TVs going here. Sometimes it's not like football where you can watch a play. Next thing you look up at the one. Next thing there's a 8-0 run down there and you missed it all. They struggled in the first half to score, I thought.
Yeah, I watched more of the first half than I did the second.
And in the second half, they kind of exploded. But, you'll have that in these games,
Yeah.
Yeah,
they got some decent guards, so it'll be a good matchup. And their big guy played better than I remembered him playing when I had watched them previously. But I think it'll be a good test, fairly evenly matched. I think Cooley's a good defensive coach, so
yep.
We'll see what happens from there.
The Texas, if we win that, play Texas will be interesting. But nonetheless, I think you want to come out of there 2-1 no matter what.
Yeah. I think if you find a way to do that, then you feel reasonably good. I saw Drew the coveted 9:15 tip-off in the Big Ten ACC Challenge, like always. So late night coming for that one. But
what are we doing show-wise next week? I got to check my practice schedule and –
yeah, I'm not really sure because, I know
schedule starts at 4.
Yeah, Monday's going to be
2:30.
Monday's going to be
3:30.
Yeah, Monday's going to be tricky because I got work in the afternoon. Although I'll probably have a TV set up in the office where I can at least watch it. But then Mallory's got practice at 5, so I wouldn't be able to do the show anyway. And then I think if they win, they play later on Tuesday, which would be better. But I think beyond that, I'm not 100% sure. So we'll figure it out.
If we're virtual, I could have multiple computers going, one where I'm talking to my kids and one where the IU game's on, and then hustle home to do the post game. But
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out.
I don't know if I could pull that off if I had in person learning. I
I
hope
could
none of my administrators are IU fans and are listening.
That could be tricky. Yeah, now I gotta stop recording and cut the end of this off. So anyway, all right. Well,
all right, man. Happy Thanksgiving.
Should be fun either way. Yeah, happy
Tell
Thanksgiving
Jen
to
and
you
the
guys
girls
too.
Tell Jen and the girls I said hello. And
all right, same to Amy
Eat a lot.
and the boys. All right, we'll do.
Yep.
All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll
See you
we'll
guys
talk to
in
you
the
next
chat
week.
box.
Later.